And I've been thinking about how the Dharma can be so many places that are surprising and uplifting. I was reading this morning, for some reason, a newsletter I started getting. I don't know how it happened, but it keeps popping up in my email, and I'm grateful for that. One of the ones I'm grateful for, not one of those ones that you try to figure out, the aversion to. But this is Maria Shriver's Sunday paper. And the byline is "Inspire hearts and minds and move humanity forward." Now that to me sounds like a bodhisattva vow. So immediately I'm thinking, well, this might not be altogether bad. And then there was a quote that the article started out with: "Can you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be?" Which sounds like a Zen koan or something to me. And that was by Charles Bukowski, who apparently, I looked it up, is a rather famous poet. So I'll be looking into more of his stuff. But what really struck me were some of the comments in the article from this Sunday paper. She's talking about her experience over the week and saying, by the end of the week, I know that there was enough trauma to go around. I don't want to feel what I feel, but I also don't want to not feel it either. I found myself craving quiet this week. And I don't know about you, but that certainly resonated with my experience of the week. And that tension between, I don't want to have to feel this all the time, this trauma and chaos and the worldly winds whipping around all the time, but I don't want not to feel it. And as Bill might put it, this is the meditator's dilemma, which is the title of a wonderful book that he wrote. I recommend it highly. We know that craving even for quiet and peace leads to suffering. And still we want that moment of quiet, that place of stillness in the midst of all of this. As Catherine talked about, all the impermanence and the change and the chaos and the painfulness of what everything is about in our world these days. So what do we do with that tension between the wanting and the wanting not to want? Which brought me to a video that's one of my favorites that I'd like to play, a little video clip. And let me challenge myself. Oh, are we recording, David? Okay. I told you I wouldn't remember. Thanks for that. So let me share my screen here and see if I can make the magic work. Here we go. Well, you may have seen that in other settings, but I just find it always helps me remember to remember. And I see something deeper and different every time I watch that. Of course, I can certainly relate, and I imagine some of you can as well. So I sit down and then I notice one distracting thought or feeling or sound. So I try to sit with it. It's unpleasant. There's tension in my body. My thoughts are running around my head. I want to get up. I go off down a rabbit hole planning what I'm going to do for the day. I think about the work project. Then I realize I've been distracted from my meditation. My shoulders are tight. My jaw is clenched. I try to relax. Then I get annoyed and think I'm just a lousy meditator. I get impatient, so I try to get rid of that thought. Then I feel more annoyed and frustrated. Then I try to get rid of those feelings. And before I know it, the room, my head, is filled with buzzing flies, mosquitoes, monkeys, or all of the above. And my arms are sore for wielding that heavy saber. How often have we been there? So how do I settle in the midst of all of this? Just persist in staying with all these unpleasant feelings? That's what I was taught when I first started. Just stay with whatever arises. Well, that stinks. Do I just try harder? Do I strive more to become a better meditator? Well, that just gives my neck muscles all in knots. And I feel personally dissatisfied, with more pains and thinking, how much pain before there's any gain? When does this all come to an end? Isn't there a kinder approach? We get a view of what this approach might be when the samurai sees that fly turn into a cherry blossom and notices that image, that lovely, peaceful image of a pond and a garden and cherry blossoms. He enters a place that feels quiet and peaceful. In a line from the King of Meditation Sutra, if without laziness, but with joyful effort, you truly work toward awakening, your quest for samadhi, wise concentration, is pure. I like that. We often forget about that joyful before the effort. But in Bill's book, The Meditator's Dilemma, he presents this gentler approach, and that's what he and Susan have always taught us. Learning to create that internal condition of comfort and ease, our inner holding environment, before we try to hold the difficult, the unpleasant mind states. He talks about our needing to learn self-soothing before we can consciously hold what is difficult without discomfort, distress, and restlessness. And as I was thinking about this, some of his words and other words just bubbled up for me. Lighten up. Don't take myself so seriously. Loosen up. Play with it. That playful attitude. This doesn't have to be hard work. It can be joyful effort like play is. And then I thought of Bill and Ron Siegel, a great mindfulness teacher who's done retreats with Bill and Susan at times. Don't go looking for trouble. There's enough trouble in paradise without our looking for it, and trouble in paradise is this negativity bias we have, looking for saber-toothed tigers behind every rock. It was adaptive when there were saber-toothed tigers, but even then, being on guard and vigilant all the time gets tiring. It keeps us alive. And it's valuable in that way. If we don't look for saber-toothed tigers, there might be one, and there we go, end of us. But we don't have to go out of our way to reinforce this bias, to see problems to see difficulties, to see unfortunate events happening. You know, those come up naturally. We have to balance that out with that joyful effort, not being Pollyanna, not denying things, not pushing them away, but cultivating what's more welcoming, what's kinder, please. And that leads to the intention of developing comforting or uplifting memories or images to make what we're doing tolerable, inviting, welcoming, friendly, that friendly atmosphere. And with that intention of uplifting images or memories, see what arises. Bill talks about this in his book. My discovery of a more inviting way to enter meditation includes first learning the art of feeling good intentionally in the present moment, setting that as my intention to feel a bit more ease, a bit more comfort. We need to feel enlivened early in meditation in order to want to stay with it. If we are as unhappy in meditation as we are at other times, except for being more aware of the unhappiness, why bother? Why should we continue? Okay. And trying to think our way into feeling good and at ease is futile. We need to remember to attend to the basics, as Maria reminded us last week with that body scan. Come back to home. We can adjust our bodies. We could have our breathing invite us into a bit more physical relaxation, and then invite memories or images that elicit the feelings of safety, comfort, and trust to come in that are needed to create the foundation for this practice. Bill relates some of the images and memories he uses, like the memory of his grandmother's face that brings that feeling of warmth and comfort and welcome, or the image of his father teaching him how to swim. We can each have our own images or memories. And as Bill mentions, in traditional types of meditation practice, often, it's imagine an image of the Buddha or green Tara or medicine Buddha. I could never do that. It just didn't work for me. What does Buddha look like? How do I imagine him? I can't see it clearly enough. And then all the flies were, buzzing around my head again. But things that work for me, I could imagine a sip of warm tea and remember how that feels, that warmth. For others, it may be the sound of birds or waves on a shore, the feel of the sun, the smell of chamomile tea. My mother always made chamomile tea when I had an upset stomach. And that smell is so soothing to this day. Or one of my favorites, let me see if I can show this to you, is the box of Sleepy Time tea. That little bear in his nightcap, sleeping in the chair, the cat and the dog and the fireplace. I can't think of a warmer image. That's my holding place image that I keep deep inside of me, as well as on my kitchen counter to remind me that that's what it feels like. This image is the door to the embodied sense of comfort that is our holding environment. We don't think our way there. We feel our way into that holding space, the place where we can feel safe, stable, grounded. And that's a welcoming place to return to every time we wander away or we get distracted by the monkeys or the mosquitoes or the flies. This can be skillful means for reconnecting to that holding place of ease and comfort and trust. And then we let it go. We don't cling to that any more than we cling to anything else. It's a gateway to being where we can start, where we can let it go and just be in the moment with comfort and kindness and a sense of stability and groundedness.